All right, so this episode that we're about to get into kicks off our 20 for 20 series. 20 topics, roughly 20 to 25 minutes in length. Episodes are going to be about specific things, specific topics kind of broken down, and we look at them with a 2020 hindsight perspective. Like I said, this first one kicks us off. What we're going to be going over tonight is kind of the groundswell that's developed within, I guess, the independent wrestling scene in the U.S. with a big focus on New Japan, the success of All In, and everything that's been going on for, I guess, kind of the last couple of years, but ever since New Japan's really kind of taken a step into the U.S. and Cody has gone over there and Bullet Club has grown. So we'll be taking a look at that tonight. Alex, should we have seen 2 years ago from now or 3 years ago, whatever, should we have anticipated that there would be some kind of indie growth? Is it growing in a way that we should have been able to predict it or see it coming, or is it just kind of like exploded out of nowhere?
No, I definitely think we should have saw this coming. And I think we might actually just be in the middle of it right now, because I think it could definitely grow into something even more like maybe even a viable kind of second option in the US, which is everybody's been clamoring for. And, it's like, well, who's it going to be? Because you do need a lot of things in place. I mean, you need TV in place, and you need a lot of money to burn, and you need the talent, and on both ends, behind the camera and the wrestling talent. So, but I think we should have saw this. Definitely should have saw this coming. Just this kind of rising up, as you saw that people could work in the independents and make a living and weren't so dependent on WWE as like the end all be all, and people were comfortable leaving WWE and working on the weekends in the independent scene, ROH, New Japan, whatever it be. I think even a while ago we should have saw this back when not back when, but sorry, what's that outfit in California that was always like super popular and hard to get tickets to?
PWG, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla.
I mean, yeah, that was like so hard to get like tickets to and stuff like that, right? And it was like such like a wow, there's like a crazy crowd for this. It's like
so rabid.
This is like a what everyone thinks like this, an ECW atmosphere like in this place, and it's like you just need to be able to like harness that, and I think that's what All In kind of did.
I think there's always been. I'm a little torn on if we should have seen it, but I'm going to lean towards the yes as well. I think I for the longest, ever since I started getting back into WWE, like 3-4 years ago or 5 years ago, or something like that, and I realized the product was still not great, which was the reason that I left when I left it. And I would remember thinking, like, why can't there be another WCW or an ECW, and why can't people kind of group up together or do something or put on some kind of something, especially with all the talent that was out there at the time. I had stopped watching WWE a while before that and was into TNA when it was great, and then Ring of Honor, and I thought that someone could kind of fill that void. It was just you had to get together with it and organize it, and I recognize the hardest part, like you mentioned, is the production value and scheduling. But I think with what All In has kind of shown now is that you can fill out a major like arena, like a 10,000 seat arena. Like that's no joke. And that was crazy because I had read, I'm sure everybody else had read too, but it was like that, that's the first non-WWE, non-WCW show to sell 10,000 tickets since 93. And that was the basis of it, was that like Meltzer said that like ROH wouldn't sell 10,000 tickets anytime soon. And kind of Cody chimed in that he was like, I'll take that bet. So, and that's where it was born. And they did a great job with it. And I mean, less than a year from now, we'll be at it, and we'll definitely be talking about it. The Ring of Honor New Japan show at the Garden, which is huge like landmark event and could be. I mean, this New Japan coming here and doing like the G1 special shows last year and this year were big, and then All In, and now you have the MSG show, which I feel like could be the final like launching pad or like stepping stone to something bigger. And the fact that they're in the Garden, WWE's house, WWE territory that weekend, how fast it sold out, how fast All In sold out. I hope it's something that can take them forward. And part of the reason I think that we should have seen it coming is so many things are counterculture now, and people want to feel that they're anti this or they're counterculture with this. So like almost being counterculture, being anti-mainstream something has become like the mainstream thing. And independent wrestling in the wrestling community is that thing. Like people, even if WWE is good one day, people just want to shit on WWE just to shit on WWE, let alone if there's an actual good product out there, which there is. There's promotions in the States, New Japan, even a lot of stuff that's going on in the UK that has really quality stuff. And I'm hoping that All In has become like kind of like a beacon or an example, like, hey, this can be done. And I'm wondering now if they go forward with, and I don't know who it would be or how you organize it, like NXT runs really, they run the same venue basically that the major WWE pay-per-views run, and they sell out. So our independent promotion is going to like, can you get that same group to come together? Like guys from Impact or, PWG and Ring of Honor and some New Japan guys, like, can you get and do a show once every 3 months, 4 months, 2 months, once a month, something like, I think there's a possibility for that. And I don't know what it looks like storyline or booking wise or what you do, but I definitely think it's a possibility. I've hoped for it for a while. And I think we're both in agreement that we should have seen it coming, and I think now it's at the point where it's a realistic possibility, and I'm hoping that they kind of just take advantage of what happens. Now, I know Vince could also sense that and maybe slam his foot on it and, I don't know, offer Kenny Omega and everybody like $1 gajillion to come to WWE just so he can shelf them or do some kind of something, but I think they definitely have the possibility for it now, and we should have honestly seen it coming.
Well, I think it's really, in my mind, I'm thinking a couple of things. One is that it's the talent, really. Like we have just a pool of talent right now that's kind of like,
it's crazy.
It's really crazy. I guess since like we think of it just maybe in WWE in the like early 90s kind of run, even though things weren't like booked properly and stuff like that, the amount of like raw talent on those like rosters, WCW combined too.
The amount of raw talent on Raw, I get it.
Was like crazy. And I think the same now, like it's at a point where I know WWE is trying to grow their talent through the Performance Center, but the outside indie talent, they almost can't buy people quick enough because there's so many, because other promotions are so deep, you know? So it's even when they do scoop up the best person, it doesn't really completely, kill off that brand. Like they've used beforehand, like ROH is a big like feeder thing with like Daniel Bryan and stuff like that. And I feel like they kind of, when they did get their big guy, maybe they were like, did have like a setback, but now it's like, look at New Japan as a reason. How many guys did they take who are all in the main event scene? I mean, Nakamura, Styles, and Anderson and Gallows, they just like, they completely robbed them of like a bunch of main event guys
just because they can
right after their
Wrestle
like
Kingdom
biggest show of the year. And everyone's like, whoa, huge gut punch there. But immediately kind of, I don't say like immediately, I mean, still had Omega and they kind of gave him the torch. That was what was going to happen. But I mean, within like next 3-6 months, they were right back on track. There was though like,
they didn't miss a beat.
That's what I'm saying. Like they lost huge main event talent that, had, crazy clout over there. And then boom, next guy stepped up and they're still doing well.
We're
still
basically
able to expand into the States.
We're basically a couple years removed from like the Styles and Anderson and Gallows leaving, and we spoke about it in a recent episode. This year, New Japan recorded its highest profits. I think it was like a 47% increase, if I'm remembering that correctly, And yeah, they just like Nakamura was huge there, and AJ was huge. Anderson and Gallows were huge, and I mean, even if you just look from like a Bullet Club perspective, like they lost Balor a little bit before there, who was the leader. Then AJ was the leader, lost him. Anderson and Gallows were major parts. Anderson was also like a leader, gone, and they've just refueled and retooled. And I think part of that is because they book so well, and they do things. They plan things out, and they do wrestling from a story and in-ring perspective that I think it should be, or that I, at least in my personal opinion, am a fan of. But I think also, to your point, it's because there is such a wealth of talent out there. I mean, look at Juice Robinson was just like CJ Parker in NXT, just like known for breaking Kevin Owens' nose on his debut night. And now is Juice Robinson, like IWGP US champ. Like, he's redeveloped himself in the dojo a little bit and done different things and changed his style. And there's so many guys that either have a already like developed style and ability that you can kind of plug and play, and if given the opportunity, they'll shine. Or, again, to your point, like guys who have raw talent that if you coach them or mold them and set them up for X amount of time, you can turn them into legitimate like guys on various levels. And I mean, Jay White has had it, like, a young lion in New Japan, sent him over to Ring of Honor for his excursion for a little while, went back in a Switchblade now, and some people are iffy on like his ability or his character, but either way, like he killed it in the G1 special in San Francisco. He killed it in the actual G1. His ability to like to develop heat and his in-ring performance and his like look have done well. Like I think it's a credit to New Japan and those companies, but also, again, like there's so much talent. And as much as we shit on WWE, which I do all the time, they honestly have so much talent. And we look at it from a perspective like, oh, it's such a waste. They don't do this or they don't do that. But it might be like the flip perspective. Like you talk about all the time. Like they have so many platforms and so much media that it's hard to always have quality product because they're stretched so thin. I think it might also be that from a talent perspective. Like WWE alone has so much talent that it might be kind of like hard to figure out what to do with all of it. It's like having like an offense and you've got all pros at like every single skill position. Like which receiver do you give the ball to? Which running back do you give the ball to? Do you even throw? Do you run? Like, it can kind of get overwhelming to a point. And I think, again, with that supports that independent scene or those other companies because they still have talent. If they can just game plan the right way. And I mean, All In came together so quickly. I just hope it leads to something big. This is a really positive step. I feel like there probably won't be anything like this again until the MSG show in April. And then if that kills, especially because it's going to be on Mania weekend in the same city as Mania, that people got to look to that. I mean, and why not? Why not pool your resources like NWA or Impact or Ring of Honor, like cross-promotional representation. Do an invasion angle with Impact and Ring of Honor. Get Ring of Honor better broadcasting. I know like Sinclair owns them, but like their TV stuff sucks. Like Ring of Honor has been like not great recently from a story perspective and a booking perspective. Like it'll help them step up. I'm hoping production wise, they still have the talent. Like there's so many opportunities if things are done the right way that they can really go nuts with it.
I just don't think that. I kind of think this was one of those, we talked about it before, like one of those like kind of super shows they used to run at like the Superdome or like, they would do kind of like maybe once a year and where they're combining promotions. I think
so. It's cool and it's an exhibition base.
I guess
but there's no long term.
I don't think so because I think Cody called in like a lot of favors. Like it's not like. I don't think you can consistently get these guys that they have and even run like storylines because everything was kind of exhibition-y. I mean, there were definitely a few storylines that they creatively did them. Like they ran them through the YouTube, the Elite. Yeah. And then for some of the storylines, and then some of them were like kind of, one-off, like, oh, I got to kind of watch this.
I feel like they could start off as exhibition things, but for it to grab hold, it's got to have some kind of significance. There needs to be like more than I think for this first one it was fine that it was like, oh, look what they did. It was more of a spectacle. It was like, holy crap, look what they've put on, look who they have. We just want to see some cool stuff. Even if and the matches were good, but like even if the matches aren't great, we just want to see some cool stuff. This is like an awesome moment, yada yada. I think going forward, like there has to be some kind of significance, and that's why I feel like they need to, if they can do it the right way and have it matter, maybe, I don't know, yeah, like if belts from certain companies are defended there, like if someone were to, if like Jay Lethal were to lose the Ring of Honor title at like one of these, like, or to somebody that wasn't expected, or to somebody from New Japan, or somebody from Impact can do something, or NWA, or something from PWG happens, maybe they do one in California, like, I think there's a lot of possibilities and
Yeah, but
avenues
it's
that they
I
can
don't know.
go
It's just
with
going to
it.
take a lot of people like working together, and I could see that kind of
The only way I see it kind of hitting
after
a
a
wall is
while. I could
because,
see it not going so well.
yeah, because they're all, at the end of the day, they're all still like carnies, and they're like protective of
Well, I'm
things.
just saying they all have their promotion. They want to promote their promotion, which is great. I mean, how many promotions do they combine in this thing? I mean, the list is like a
Oh, it's a
crazy.
lot.
Yeah, it's like a crazy long
But
list.
shouldn't
So
they
there's a lot of.
realize, like, well, if we do this together, we're gonna A, survive longer, and B, like, make more money? Like,
But then
isn't
you're gonna have to legit like merge. I think, and I don't think that's gonna happen.
they
Like
should do that?
I know, but I don't think it's gonna happen because I know they should do it, but it's just not gonna happen. And my thing is, where's the money? Because like the amount of money that you need, is pretty significant if you want to keep doing this kind of on a
Well,
regular
one,
basis.
they could have charged more for the all-in tickets and
Yes.
still sold out. You can get big if you're getting those size venues, 10 to 15,000 seat arenas, and you're doing them 4 times a year or even 6 times a year, charging the right amount, you're going to get that gate. You still do your independent, like Impact still runs its stuff, Ring of Honor still runs its stuff. Everybody can still run their separate stuff, and then meet at these super shows, and maybe they weave in like super show storylines into their regular show. So each promotion can be its own thing, but behind the scenes they're really one giant thing. Almost as if like somebody from NXT, like NXT and WWE are like separate promotions, but we know they're under like the same umbrella in the same company. And I feel like the independents, I hope the direction that they take, with us looking back on it like this and being like, oh, we should have seen this coming, I hope the next step that it is like, oh, well, we should have seen it coming, that it was so successful and that everybody kind of like joined together. And it doesn't have to be out in front, like, oh, it's a new wrestling company name and it's this and that, but there's so much potential to do A, more shows, and B, use it to vault the independents and the talents that they have there. They could have such a big impact. And I think the only thing that holds them back really is like that whole carny mentality of it, of being territory based or like protective of your own thing, or somebody being like, no, I want 30% instead of 25% and blah, blah, blah. And everybody kind of like going back and forth. But there's so much quality from a booking perspective or an in-ring perspective. And this has to be like a signal that if you do stuff right, it can go forward.
Here's my thing though. It was like talking about All In. It's a one-off kind of super show.
Right.
In the most dead month of like promotion, and with like a year of kind of hype, and I just feel like, can that be like replicated a lot, like in that I know G1 at Madison Square Garden, obviously it's in Madison Square Garden, it's sold out right away, right? Same weekend as Mania, so there's just a lot of heads there anyway. It's gonna sell out regardless, but it's crazy that it's like in MSG because Vince like owns MSG, right? But I'm saying like All In, it was like that's what everyone was focused on, because it was an off thing. Does the G1 show, which is the next kind of like maybe stepping stone thing that was like, does this get lost in the shuffle? Is this just end up being like ROH New Japan in Coney Island when there's also NXT going on, and it's just all kind of mixed in? Not that wasn't a great show. You were there. I was at NXT Brooklyn, and I thought that was a great show too. And it was just, does it all kind of, is there too much going on that weekend?
Yeah, does it get lost in the shuffle?
Because there's so much going on that weekend. that
Well,
like by the time Monday or Tuesday rolls around, no one's really talking about it because it was on Saturday.
I think if they do it the right way, it can. And I guess maybe you have to limit it to a degree and still keep it kind of spectacle based. So maybe start off doing it maybe like, because you're already going to have those G1 specials, and then you got the Garden Show. So maybe you're doing like 3 big events a year or 4 a year. And maybe we also don't know the timeline. Like maybe 10 years from now, they're running 6 of these shows a year or 1 a month. Or maybe that's unrealistic, but the timeline.
And would it something crazy have to happen at this?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Theory?
There has to be like
but I don't even know what that is.
There has to be some sort of real world implication.
Ideally, what could possibly happen that would be like, whoa.
The only thing that would have made All In better for me would have been if Neville showed up or CM Punk. But then again, Jericho was there.
Japan show that makes people like forget about NXT that night.
Oh, for like the MSG show?
Yeah.
Just how good the wrestling is, or maybe
it's like quality of wrestling.
The quality of wrestling.
I think that's going to get lost.
There's going to be a belt that changes hands. I also think something big will happen. Like somebody will lose something crazy. There will be some sort of big thing. I don't think they're just going to do.
What are the big things that could happen?
Belt change, a debut, a return, some kind of something like that.
Because basically the only I don't want to say the only thing, but
maybe Nakamura returns.
The biggest surprises of late are all like Jericho related, to be honest.
Well, maybe Nakamura comes back. Maybe Neville debuts. Maybe Neville's holding out and makes his debut at the Garden. Like that would be Neville from a wrestling perspective is great, but also because he's a WWE guy would he's wrestled in New Japan before, so he'd easily get into the company. And then like from a mainstream perspective,
New Japan's going to treat that like a normal kind of show. They're not going to, right?
No.
Like G1 in San Francisco, it had some significance obviously with the ending, but I didn't feel like, and obviously the Juice title change, but was it like a really significant show to like the Japanese?
No, but I don't think that's what they're. But I don't think that's what they're going for. They don't need it to be significant to the Japanese audience. They need it to be significant. They've already got the foothold in Japan. Like they don't have to worry about that. But they need it to be significant here.
This crazy thing happened. Like everyone has to take notice.
That's easy. Like you do just a bigger belt change. Like maybe Kenny keeps the belt and Kenny loses the belt in the Garden. Or like a bigger title takes, a bigger title changes hands, or it has to be somebody debuts. I think the easiest one would be, but granted, like he'd have to come back, like Nakamura comes back, like if because that would take huge effect here, but also back in Japan, like if people were like, oh, did you hear? Like Nakamura
I guess that's
came
like
back.
The biggest thing I could think of.
Nakamura came back at the New York City show, like oh my god, he's back in New Japan, or Kenny lost the belt, or the Intercontinental title changed hands or something. There would have to be some kind of debut / return / belt change or just amazing match. Like Kenny and Okada have to have like a 9-star match. There would have to be something of significance, which I think they will. I don't think this Garden show is just going to be, oh yeah, like we're just going to put on an exhibition show and it'll happen. I think New Japan wants a bigger, stronger stake in the market here and in the country. And I don't see them taking this opportunity and just being like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll just put on like a regular show. I think they're going to go for it. I think there's going to be heavy hitters there. I think something big's going to happen. I don't know what, but I feel like we're going to come away from that night being like, holy shit.
That's what I'm hoping, because I think this would be kind of the next sort of big step. If you're going like head to head with like WWE on the same like weekend, and right. People are talking about you as much as they might be talking about, let's say, even WrestleMania, like that would be something.
And that's
like
also part of it too. They want to they're going to want to do something for the company in and of itself, but let alone the weekend combined with where they are, they're going to have a ton of eyes on them, a ton of press, a ton of opportunity. So if they do something big and eventful and memorable, it would take hold regardless, but especially because it's that weekend. I mean, oh my God, this is like the perfect shot. It's like having blood in the water and being a shark. Like they have that opportunity. I feel like they'll capitalize it. They're too good of a booking. I'm going to say knock on wood because I don't want to jinx it, but they're too good of a company from that perspective, from the sport from like the aspect of wrestling being a sport and being booked and created properly. They're too good at it to let an opportunity like that slip.
All right. Well, I think we're just in the middle of it, but it's good to look back and see like, hey, I think definitely like something is happening here, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, and hindsight being 2020, maybe we're doing another one of these this time next year, and it's like, hey, I can't believe we didn't see that. I can't believe we didn't think that Big Show was going to return at MSG and win the IWGP title.
All right, thanks for listening to our new Tuesday podcast, 20 for 20. And if you like this or have any ideas, email or DM us on Instagram at AA Talk Stuff. And if you like what you hear, leave us a review on iTunes or anywhere else, and we'll catch you down the road.